Welcome to the Real Deal Fishing Podcast. I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're trying out something new. Welcome,
trying out
everybody.
music. And we brought Bex.
We're on episode 4, season 2, episode 4. And we have an awesome show for you in this episode. We have the awesome Rebecca / Bex Young of NoReelLoss YouTube channel. What's going on, Bex?
Hey guys, what's going on? Excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. You know, we've only had 2 other guests, and so you're the 3rd guest. We had Tom from LG Bass, and we talked about bank fishing, and we had Ray Ferguson, a tournament angler, like serious tournament angler. We talked about the evolution of catfish tournaments, and now we have Bex. And we're going to talk about anything we want.
Dancing,
karaoke, and catfishing. But I just want to welcome everybody and thank everybody for listening to our podcast. It's growing slowly but steadily, and we just want to thank all of you for doing that. We also now have a YouTube channel dedicated just to the not to NoReelLoss, that's their own thing, but to the the Real Deal. Yeah, I messed that one up, didn't I?
I told you were taking over, Bex.
that was my plan all along.
You just took over a podcast.
She did. She got in my head.
That's right.
But we're highfalutin, you know. We got a YouTube channel now, the Real Deal Fishing Podcast YouTube channel with a whopping 33 subscribers. Make sure you go check it out. If you want to see what we look like, and maybe not. Never mind. Don't. But it's kind of fun. You know, you get to see a different side of a podcast, the behind the scenes. And normal podcasts, you just hear it. You can actually see it, kind of like Joe Rogan. And that's just the biggest one ever. So that's what came to my mind. But others as well. But go check us out on YouTube. Also check out the Palmetto Cats YouTube channel. And, of course, NoReelLoss YouTube channel, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Also, if you want to support the Real Deal Fishing Podcast, please head on over to www.shoppalmettocats.com. You can get Palmetto Cats merch and the newly designed Real Deal Fishing Podcast gear. Mike, have you got yours in yet?
It's been ordered. I really expected it to show up today, but it did not. Trish already has a shirt. Her shirt did show up today. She is very excited.
And it's very appropriate because she designed it. It's awesome. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's a round reel, Abu Garcia-esque round reel with the typewriter text in different sizes around the reel with some little, artistic stuff. Welcome to our Boom Squad members. I see we got Vonnie Pantaloons in here. She said, "Oh my God, I love Bex from NoReelLoss."
I love you too.
Well, Vonnie, thank you for joining the Boom Squad, and we really appreciate it. You didn't have to do that, but if those of you who are listening don't know what I'm talking about, the Palmetto Cats Boom Squad, this is one of the perks. They get to come in and live chat with us as we record this podcast. So if that's something that interests you, head on over, hit that join button, and come join us in one of these podcasts every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Most Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Unless something catastrophic happens, we record this podcast. So anyway, let's get to the show. Mike, how was your day, man?
My day started off a little early. The dog seems to have found himself into another one of those awkward puppy funks. And he would get nervous and have to go to the bathroom. So he woke Kristen up, I think, in the 12 o'clock hour or maybe the 2 o'clock hour. Then he woke me up in the 3 o'clock hour, which isn't really a big deal to me. I mean, I woke up an hour earlier than I normally do. Everything went pretty well. You know, work is work. And I was doing lots of thinking, jotted down some notes.
Did you make any purchases today?
Not yet. Actually, the podcast has interrupted that. But I do have
you had something in the cart.
Yeah,
you had something in the cart.
Oh yeah.
Hey, listen. I'm trying
to coupon code that is burning at my soul.
It's hot. Yeah,
listen,
it's hot. I've been
waste
trying to find like a pink tuxedo for the golden whiskers, and I can't find a pink camouflage tuxedo anywhere. Number one, and then I can't find anything cool looking in my size. So I think I'm gonna have to go with the tuxedo T-shirt. So I pulled the Mike Murillo and I put it in the cart and left it there, and they've already offered me $10 off.
Yeah.
So, Bex,
It's
do you
not.
have any experience with that, like putting stuff in the cart and waiting for
Yeah,
deals to happen?
so I'm a big fan of like coupon things like Honey, like where they give you the
Yep.
discount ahead of time.
Mr.
My
Beast
bank,
told me about
Capital
Honey.
One, has started that too now. Like when you're going through Amazon and stuff like that. I think you should custom order a pink suit in camo because that sounds amazing
Yeah, it sounds
and
expensive too.
multi-use.
It sounds very expensive.
It does, but worth it.
And
don't know
listen,
any seamstresses?
I'm in the weight loss challenge now, so I can't buy anything that I'm not going to wear after a
Fair
few
enough.
weeks. I did walk 3 miles today and yesterday, by the way.
Oh,
Nice. I literally put our treadmill in the bedroom.
Nice.
Made
Well,
as
we're not here to
frictionless
talk
as
about
possible.
that. Even though it is fishing related, if you don't know what we're talking about, Josh the Weekend Angler, another great YouTube channel, is having a weight loss challenge / fishing tournament from January to April. You get to lose your, what the greatest percentage of body weight you can, and whatever you lose will be added to your fish pounds total on the fishing tournament. So if you lose 50% of your body weight, which I mean that would be crazy and unhealthy, but you get to add 50% to your bag. So I'm trying to I don't typically catch giant fish a lot, so I'm gonna need all I can get. But Bex catches giant fish. Bex, I want to open up
Yeah.
talking about the day,
Yeah.
which we all experienced. Mike experienced it. I experienced it. I'm so happy that tournament was something that I could be a part of. So I hosted a series called the Iron Cat tournament, or the Iron Cat series, and this was a female anglers only tournament. And Bex on day one, not and Bex and Vonnie. Let me say that Bex and Vonnie slaughtered them, and had 2 PBs in one day. You want to tell us a little bit about that first fish and then the second fish?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just start out and just to set the whole scene. Pretty much about 5 minutes after we threw our rods in the water, we got our first fish, right? And that kind of started the cadence for the day. And so it was late August. So it's around the time fish are still
September
super
4th.
active. Yeah, getting more active. I think, yeah. So it was just, we had picked our spot. I knew it was a good spot. It's where I got my PB before that 2 weeks ago. So
And what was
I
that?
knew I could get
How big was that one?
that was 36 pounds.
Awesome fish.
Yeah, and then I got a hit on, funnily enough, the chunky rod that I had gotten from Chunky a little bit ago. And
so Chunky Cats is another YouTube channel for those of you not in the YouTube world, and he customizes his fishing rods. Chunky Cats Fishing on YouTube. He paints them with fluorescent paint and wraps them in reflective tape. And Bex has one, so that's what she's talking about.
yeah, and at the time it was my only 9-foot pole, right? So I was casting it out a little further, which was exciting. And immediately when I started reeling in, it's just different, right? Than any fish from 20 pounds down. There's head shakes. You can muscle them in. You're kind of in control of the situation. With this one, I literally was just being led by the fish until it decided to come to the bank, right? And when and Bonnie, who's my partner, she was running back and forth from side to side, and I was like, this is not like any of the other ones. This is gonna take so much longer to bring in. And she, at the very end, she literally, because my net was too small. I still have that same net, by the way. I need to get a Steve Douglas monster net. But she managed to get the fish out of the water, and we managed to get it on the bank, but then we realized that the camera was off, right? So then we were like, oh my God, got to get the camera on. We're freaking out about that. And just the experience. So first of all, I knew it was my PB, right? There was no.
At what point did you realize that this is a big fish?
I had a feeling in the fight, right? It definitely felt big, but having only caught one fish, because
Yeah.
before the 36-pound fish, my record was 14 pounds.
That's
So
a big
I didn't
jump.
really have a lot, to go off in terms of how the big fish all
And
fight.
before you finish that up, just to get everybody a little context,
Yeah.
Bex, which we'll go and get into it. Bex just started catfishing, like what, a year ago,
Yeah.
year and a half ago. Not
I mean,
too
I
much
tried
longer than that.
hard for a year and 2 months, but about a year ago was when I started catching.
But we'll get into that. So she went quickly from 14 to 36, you said,
Yep.
to how big was the first one you caught on that day?
56 pounds.
56 pounds.
Yeah. Which,
Mike, do you recollect when that fish was coming in?
I was in disbelief at what was happening. I was hopeful
From the
that it
bank,
was
by the way,
something
everybody, from the
massive.
bank.
I was hopeful it was something massive. I couldn't see it because it looked like there was you had to hop down
yeah.
to actually get to the water. So I could see Vonnie, like Bex was saying, going back and forth and then getting down and trying to be ready. And then I think Vonnie might have said, "You're gonna have to help me with this." And I'm like, "Oh." So, and whenever anybody says it, whenever anybody on the fishing team says that, everybody stops what they're doing and reacts and starts to think, how do we work as a team? We have to catch this. We have to land this fish.
Yeah.
And I don't know how big their net is, but
not
you
big
can
at all.
always tell a big fish in any net because it's like its belly fat just hangs over and flaps over that ring of the net. And I'm just like, oh my. And I'll be honest, I literally started crying. I was so happy that it happened. And that's because I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Bex. I'm a big fan of Vonnie. So I was like, oh my gosh, this just happened. Now continue.
So you get the camera on.
Yeah. This is where it kind of gets blurry because it is so exciting. But what I remember is, I obviously didn't need to measure it because it was definitely longer than 16 inches. And so the goal was to weigh it, right? Because I knew this was my PB and I wanted to weigh it. And so we have a sling that Richard Montano, who is a big supporter in the DC area. He carp fishes. He's great at carp fishing. He had given me that sling. And so we were weighing it. And the biggest thing for me was just knowing the weight, because at that point I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
I couldn't hold it up at
because you had already caught several fish before that.
Right. And we were just wrecked, man. So it was shaking to lift it up and it wouldn't lock in. And when Vonnie read the number, I remembered that when she was like 55,
She said
56,
yeah,
58,
because it was
all
in the
those
net.
things. I was like,
Yeah,
oh my God, this is it. And I think I felt the most
And
relaxed
we had to
once
take
I
off
dropped.
the weight.
Once I could put the weight down, that was when I was like,
Yeah, so we said 54, but in the net, those nets weigh about maybe average is about 2 pounds. It's
Right.
safe to knock off 2 pounds
Yeah.
for most nets, or for most slings. I'm sorry, it was in the sling.
Yeah.
So about 2 pounds. But
Yeah,
y'all,
ours is
the
1.9 or
slings are
something like that.
very important, and that was one thing that I was really proud of you all for, is that being such new members of the CPR catfishing community, you'd watched enough and done your homework enough to know that fish needs to be weighed quickly in a sling, not hung by the jaw. Pictures need to go quick, and you need to get it back in the water as quick as possible, because those fish are the breeding fish, the monster breeding fish. So I was very, very happy to see that happen, and it was live. So there wasn't we need to go scrub this footage and redo it. Y'all did it first time right.
So just to tell you something about that, Kevin, Vonnie and I, when we finally got home, we were rewatching it. And when the second big fish was caught, you kind of talked about that CPR stuff. We both cried because I was so proud, right? That we had done it. Because in the moment you forget everything that you're doing, and so to just know that I did it right, and to know that that was recognized was really important to me.
So she said second fish. So as the tournament progressed, they caught more fish. I think you caught what, 38 fish that day?
I wish it was that much. It was 26 live.
Yeah,
27.
I know it's something like that. Yeah. Yes, it was almost 30 then. That's what it was. And then Vonnie, you know, who is very well known for ordering food from the bank, ordered you all some pizza.
Yeah.
And I remember the pizza got there. And I remember the rod going down and Vonnie in the back, in the foreground, actually, just eating a slice of pizza. And then she just walks over to the camera nonchalantly and hits the mute button. Is like, "We got a fish on," and eating the pizza. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And then you were fighting it like the other fish.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, is this going to be another big fish? And I kind of dismissed it. I was like, "There's no way," you know, whatever. But then,
what are the chances?
Right. So in this tournament, everybody, there's like 7 other anglers. So I'm not sure how many there were at that time. Probably not that many, but so I'm having to pay attention to chat and the other female anglers out there. So I'm not just locked on Bex and Vonnie at this time. So I'm going around and I realize she's still fighting it. She's still fighting, like 5-10 minutes goes on. And then we focus in on it because of the fight, because it's kind of a joke. It's like, oh, Bex got another fish on. Woo! After you catch 20 fish, it's kind of like, okay, all right, here's another one. And all the other competitors are like, that mother. No. They're not really. They're not really. They were all proud of you. But when Vonnie got in the water, that's where I want you to start from. So they're on the bank. They're on the bank, and this fish is coming in, and then Vonnie gets in the water to do something. To do what?
Yeah, so she goes in to try and net it. And at this point, you know, she's got the net, but I'm in my head, I was like, we need the grippers too, right? Because we'd already experienced the fact that like my net was too small for big fish. So you know, I'm like running around. The grippers were under the pizza box. I don't know if you guys caught that on the live stream, but that's where they were. So I found those. So I'm like with the rod, you know, trying to get it. And as you said, Michael, like the bank drops a good 4 foot to a flat area that, depending on the tide, is either flooded or not. And so Vonnie's jumped down there, and I'm getting it. It's been this long fight, and I see the fish. I know it's big. I know it's massive, right? It's close to Vonnie. It's not really with Vonnie. Vonnie's in the water at this point. I think I'm going to lose my partner to the Potomac River. And I felt the line go slack. I knew the hook had popped, right? Like right at the bank. And I, like, at that point, I was just like, oh, I'm just giving up, you know, like it's gone. And Vonnie's still in the water, right? And so I wasn't really paying attention to what she was doing, but she had it in the net right as that hook popped, and she got it, right? And at that point, you know, there was no way that both of us were going to be able to lift it. Like one of us was going to be able to lift it up onto the bank. So like I climbed up, I think, onto the bank, because she's down at the bottom, and we pull the net over. And I can't imagine how, like, well, I know because I looked at the footage, but like you could just see how big that fish was as the net came up. And yeah, that one, we said 60. It was anywhere between like 60 and 63. I wish I'd had a better scale. Because Vonnie did jump up.
So Vonnie put in chat, for those of you listening, I jumped on its back. And she literally did. With a piece of pizza in her hand.
We have a piece of pizza. Yeah, it was nuts. I wish I had a better scale to like get a better grip on it, because I felt like it was resting against myself every time I was weighing it. But I'm perfectly happy with a 60-pound PB record. That I'm good with that.
Yeah. So we're sitting there, and Bex goes, "Oh, it's bigger. It's bigger." When she lifted the net up, or when she lifted the sling up, she was unsure. I think most of us kind of figured it was, right, Mike?
Yep.
We kind of figured it was going to be big. And then
you
when
never know, though, because they're exhausted.
Yeah.
So you're thinking to yourself, well, it could be bigger. They're exhausted. They've had a long day. They were just trying to get some food in them.
Well, I remember when Kevin, you asked, you're like, is it bigger than the other one? And I was like, I'm not sure. And then I like lifted it up.
So you lifted it.
It's bigger.
And so, and then Vonnie, we didn't know because it was hard. The scale wouldn't lock in. And Vonnie was like, was 60. And I was like, what? Did she just say 60 something? And I think she said like 61.75 or 62 or something.
Yeah.
Which, with the sling off is 60 pounds. Like, oh my gosh, she just upped her PB in the same stream from the same spot on the same day by 4 pounds, or what was it? 6 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah.
crazy. And then y'all couldn't lift the fish, right?
I
You
couldn't.
lift.
And not especially with like how tired my arms were too, right? Like, so even the first one I couldn't lift. And I'm not saying I'd be able to lift it on my own. I'm not like saying, CrossFit Bex or whatever.
Of course you could. Of course you could.
Of course I could. But like we were tired. So with that one though, I just decided to slide it I sat in the chair and we just slid it into the lap and moved the camera around. And that was awesome. And, we had the in-person DC audience that was losing their mind too. So that was good.
And think about it. You have a bigger PB than one individual that fishes live on YouTube that has been fishing for way longer than you do. I'm not going to say his name, but he does have glowing rods.
Are you talking about Elston?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
I think he's talking about Elston.
I don't know. Maybe his name slipped my mind. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Mike, what were you thinking as this fish? So we still hadn't seen the fish, but then Vonnie tilted the camera up, and what was your reaction, Mike?
I couldn't believe that it happened. I mean, you're stunned enough already thinking about the first one, and then I'm like, wait a minute. And at first I thought, am I watching like a replay? I was like, did I push the screen? Because you fat thumb your phone and stuff happens, and I got to tell you,
and
my
that would be more
tablet is not-
believable.
yeah. So I'm sitting there and I'm tapping, and I'm like, okay, this really happened. And then I'm like, well, it had to happen because Vonnie did all that holding a piece of pizza. I'm like, that's different. And I'm just like, wow. I couldn't believe it. First of all, double respect, double props on managing a net, grippers, and maintaining your pizza. I mean, and helping,
and if it wasn't for you, Bex, I'm sure Vonnie would have saved the pizza over the fish.
But it was, if she didn't know how much it meant to me,
yeah,
she would have been like, oh well.
I remember everybody asking, hey, what kind of pizza did you get? And everybody's thinking, hey, what kind of, and you're like, sorry guys, you probably think it's, Papa Giordano or some,
right.
local amazing pizza. And I think you said it was Papa John's.
Pizza Bowley's, which is a chain here.
Yeah. So, and then everybody's just like, oh. But it's like, focus on the fish. This just happened again. Lightning struck twice.
Yeah.
Right there.
It was like a series of perfect conditions too, I think, right? Like we had massive rain right before it. I know the current was ripping. We were in the channel. Like you can catch big fish there, and I'm sure somebody else will catch a big fish of that size there at some point, in the next year or two. And it was just everything just lined up.
But here's the thing though, you knew to go there.
Yeah.
So it's not just a Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events. I mean, you that was lame, I'm sorry. But you knew to pick that spot. And that's what, listening to others, learning from others, your experience, of course, comes into play. And sometimes that's the difference between someone who is successful and someone who, wouldn't catch 2 PBs in one day.
Yeah.
You knew enough to go to that spot. So people are probably wondering that are listening and have never seen your channel. They're like, you got pizza delivered to your spot? And I'm thinking, because you guys were thinking about coming down for the camping trip. And I was thinking, yeah, Vonnie's not ordering no pizza out there on the island. So why don't you tell everybody like how you're able to get pizza there because of the area you fish in?
Yeah. So for those of you who are not familiar, I fish the Potomac River. And I fish the tidal part of the Potomac River. I will sometimes fish a little bit upriver, but most of our fishing and our live streams happen in the tidal part of the river. And that kind of sits, for me, in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. It is very urban, right? So you have the actual DC city center. On the Virginia side, you have like the airport, you have a couple of marinas, you have like Alexandria, all that stuff. And so it's like you could pretty much like park in a lot of places and walk right up to the river, right? Like there's no going through forests and stuff. You can find those spots for sure, but a good chunk of it we can park up and go fishing, which is great. You do have to think a little bit about licensing and where you are, like if you're in DC, how many rods you can use versus Virginia. And that kind of stuff, but that allows us to. So we were fishing near a marina, and so Bonnie had it delivered to the marina, walked to the marina, and then came back with the pizza. But we'll do that in a lot of spots we're at. And one of the things I love about fishing in DC is that the scenery is like no matter where you are, you're seeing something really cool while you're fishing, right? So yes, it's an urban city center, but like we have a lot of history there too, right? So like Washington Monument, Jefferson Monument.
And that stuff is a lot of times in the background of their live streams. So you're fishing and then you see like the Kennedy Center lit up in the background.
It's crazy.
So you're not the only part of this YouTube channel. Tell us a little bit about your partner in crime.
Yeah, so the second and French part of No Real Loss is Steven, or Stevie as I like to call him. If you struggle with saying that name, it's Steven, 7 with a T is how I always remember it. He is a friend that I met. I used to work with his wife, actually, in a previous life. And so we were both Facebook friends, like casual acquaintances. And we both just noticed kind of right around when quarantine was popping up, we noticed that both of us were posting a lot of photos on Facebook of us catching fish and trying to figure this stuff out. And so we just kind of became fishing buddies from that. And I think for both of us, it was a bit of a transformational experience, in that it was a very stressful time for everybody in the world, no matter like where you were, what you believe, whatever. Like it was a stressful time, and fishing kind of gave me something that I got to set goals. I got to reconnect with nature. I got to be mindful. I got to like live in the present, and he felt the same way. And so we just kept talking about this idea of like just the joy of fishing, right? Like and wanting to share that with people. And so I already had a GoPro that my mom and dad had got me like it was like a GoPro Hero 4 or something like that. Yeah. So I was like recording with that and sharing that with my mom and putting it on my YouTube channel. And I was like, I'm going to make a YouTube channel. So I did it, and I was like, Steven, do you want to do this YouTube channel with me? And he goes like, yes. And so that's kind of where it started. And for those of you who don't know, I'm originally from the UK. I was born in Edinburgh, Scotland, and Steven was born in France, around Paris, and he's Cameroonian in French. And we just decided our logo was going to be 2 fish with berets on, because both the Scottish culture and the French culture has berets, and they're our flags, our country flags. And we thought that was the kind of way of being like, it's no real loss, it's fun, you know, like you can learn with us, but you can also just have a good time.
I like the story of how you decided to make the logo. Now, did you and Steven, did y'all do fishing back before you came to the States? And if so, like, what did you fish for?
I know, so I can't fully speak for Steven. I know that he did a little bit as a kid. I think he said with his uncle, but I'm not 100% sure. And I think he may have had a traumatizing experience of a catfish too. I don't know that story.
I got poked.
I never fished as a kid. I like did a little bit of net fishing in creeks and stuff like that, but nothing ever serious. And I moved to Florida when I was 13. And I did a little bit of fishing there, like some pier fishing and stuff like that. Enough to kind of know what a fisherman's knot is, but like, you know, that was about it. But then nothing. I just didn't hook me in the same way that it did when I came back into it, or started for real. I mean, I can tell you like why I started fishing again, and it wasn't because I needed something to do during quarantine. It's because my nephew wanted to learn how to fish, and no one else in the house was interested in fishing. And so I went on Amazon, I got these telescopic rods, like Soldierling or something like that.
Oh
And I
yeah,
went out with all the wrong gear.
Suvaling or whatever.
Yeah, and I had like
Yeah.
curly tail grubs hooked on wrong and stuff like that, and I spent like 2 months trying to catch a fish for this kid, and he's getting tired and exhausted. And while I'm doing it, I'm kind of like watching other people, and I'm like, we need worms. And one day I got worms. We went out, and like I caught a bluegill. That was like the best experience of my life, other than the PBs, because I was like, yes, I'm an angler.
I like how you just went for it though.
Yeah.
I mean, you just did it. You're like, I'm just gonna try it. I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah. And then through like just getting like that excitement, then I started searching on YouTube, and then I was like, whoa,
all this is out here.
There's technique.
Mike knows a little bit about the Amazon trials of fishing gear. But see, Mike and I both grew up fishing. But I think a lot of people's first fish was a bluegill type fish, a sunfish.
Right.
Mine was. I know it was. Even though I don't remember it, I know it had to be because that's what we did. What about you, Mike? Was your first one a panfish?
No, probably a bullhead.
Bullhead.
Yeah. We'd throw a worm out there, and the bullhead would get it first.
So you went from the panfish to what next?
So I mean, like when you search fishing on YouTube and you're not looking for a specific species, the bulk of the results you're going to get is bass fishing, right? You look like search lure fishing or anything like that. So I did a lot of like trying to catch. I continued with the panfish because I love that. Like,
oh yeah,
always. And now that I have an ultralight rod, it's like even better, right? Like at that time it was just,
we were texting back and forth about that. Did you get the 2-pound test?
I did.
Nice.
Yeah. I haven't used it yet, but I have it.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna blow your mind.
It's an amazing difference.
But yeah, so then I did bass, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed, like, one of the things I like about fishing is like I actually get it. I understand it, right? Like when I'm watching someone, and that's not everything in my life. Like I've tried to learn guitar, I've tried to be a coder, I like video games, but I'm not the best at it, I play on easy mode. With fishing, I was like, this just makes sense to me, like when someone's talking about structure and current being structure or ledges or like how to rig a bait for presentation or different knots, like something just clicks and it like sticks in my head more than other things in my life. And I think that's what I like about it is I feel like I'm actually like I can see myself growing in it as I do it more. So yeah, bass fishing, Senkos, jerk baits, all that kind of stuff. But the issue of bass fishing, for me, this is personal preference, is it's harder to do all season, right? Every season, because they do slow down. So like in the winter, they slow down. 2 is that it's very pressured here. And I imagine in a lot of places in the United States. So it's like getting one fish is a win. And I felt like I was limiting myself. Like I think I'm more multi-species, and Stephen and I had always wanted to do the catfishing. So we did it. We'd been watching Chunky and like Kaz and stuff like that, and the community was voting for us. It took us a long time to figure it out. I had the wrong hooks. I think I was using like 4/0 like Texas rig hooks with tiny weights,
from like a worm,
like that. But when we finally caught our first blue cats, that was amazing. And I think I've pretty much gotten like full
catfish mode.
Full catfish mode, and then panfish, ultralight, any species love, if that makes sense. Like if I can go out and do it, I'll do it. I want to learn about surf fishing. But yeah, I want a bigger catfish.
So 60's not enough. You're looking for the bigger one.
Bigger. I want a flatty. I've not got a flatty yet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I need the trifecta.
Yeah, yeah. Mike is also looking for the
Absolutely.
trifecta. He's missing the blue.
Yep, I'm gonna get it this year though.
Come to the Potomac.
We found a few. I found a lake that's about an hour and 20 minutes away.
That's probably
So
better.
we're gonna give that a shot first, Bex. I think.
Well, you know that you can't say that you caught them all till you catch the white cat. I mean,
Yeah,
that's true.
I didn't even know I was catching white cats for
Yeah.
So Kevin,
20 years.
you actually talked about that in one of, I can't remember if it was a live stream or a video, but you talked about how this was actually a white cat. And then I was like, huh, have I caught white cats before and not known it? Because they're in the Potomac.
Yeah, they're on the east. They're native. They're one of the, unlike the blues, they're actually native to the eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
You know, the blues they're not invasive because they were stocked, but they're not there naturally. But yeah, my dad always called them. He still calls them bullheads. And so when I started watching
some more credit, Kevin,
what?
you know, you talk about it like it's an unexpected phenomenon, but you know what? You're probably a heck of a good white cat fisherman. You know,
even
Give
if I
yourself
don't,
some
even if I don't want to be.
See? You know,
But see, my dad's always called him bullhead, probably still will. So when I started watching YouTube and started watching other guys and girls catch bullheads, I was like, y'all's bullheads are tiny, man. Ours are massive. Yeah, we got massive bullheads. You need to come to South Carolina to catch a bullhead. Use that for flathead bait. And then I posted a video and called it a bullhead, and somebody's like, "No, that's a white cat." I'm like, yeah, that's a bullhead. And I looked it up, and I was like, "Sure enough, it sure is a white cat." So I've never caught a bullhead. So there's that.
Now you talked about being from Scotland. You talked about Steven being from France.
Yeah.
Do you want to go back to Europe and catch a Wells catfish? Would No Real Loss
Good question.
travel to Europe, you know, later on when things are in better shape, obviously, you know?
Yes, I think is the answer. I've watched a lot of, I think it's called clunking videos where they like hit the water to attract the Wells catfish. I think that would be a dream come true. To catch catfish that big. I would also like to do some of the fishing that's like known for the region, right? So like obviously there's carp, but pike fishing. There's a lot of great surf fishing in the UK. And there's a lot of great channels on YouTube that are showing some of that stuff right now, which I think is really great. But yeah, I would let someone sponsor me to go on the Wells Catfish tour, and I will go.
I watch Yuri on Catfish World, and some of those catfish all of those catfish he pulls in, he like lays down next to him, and you know he doesn't use bait casters; he uses spinning reels for those big giant ones. So you know, I think when it comes to gear, I know you use spinning rods, but
I've moved off to bait casting now.
You tried, yeah, and so did I. And so now I'm thinking, you know, because part of me, and you can agree or disagree, but wanted to learn how to use a bait caster, number one. And number two, it just looks cool. I mean, what's the number one rule of Mexicat, Mike?
That's right. Got to make yourself look cool.
You got to look cool.
Like shark fishing.
And so everybody's got these awesome, and not all the rods come in spinning.
Right.
You know, like the Hellcats. There's no spinning Hellcats. You know, so I wanted to be able to experience all of it. So now I'm learning more and more about the gear I use and the gear I used to use. And those pens that I used to use, which I still have, I use from time to time, they'll outperform any of the bait casters I have, even the Abu Garcias, you know. So what do you think about that? What is one of the reasons you wanted to move on to a bait casting setup?
So part of it was the bass fishing. I liked using the low profile bait casting rod and reel setup over spinning for a lot of applications, and I just kind of got used to it. But I was nervous to transition over because it's not the same kind. It's a much bigger bait caster, right?
Right,
And
right.
it's different. What has made me stick with bait casters though is that I have really small hands, like small for a woman of my size, right? And I have noticed that with the bait caster, I'm able to cast further than I can with a spinning reel. And I think a lot of that is like I don't have to worry about reaching around the rod to pinch the line, and like the spacing of my hands. It's really just about where my thumb is, and then I can go for it. So that's one reason I like it. It feels easier to me. And then two, I feel much more aware of where my weight and bait is in the water column as it drops with a bait caster than I do with a spinning reel. And that just makes me feel more confident in my
Yeah,
presentation.
you're right, because you can feel. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Like you can feel it dropping if you got your thumb on that spool.
Yep. And you feel the thud.
Very,
Like the line is much more in tune with the rod and the reel.
very, very astute observation.
Thank you.
Comments, Mike?
I watched the line with my eyes to try to get that same data when I cast out, and I'm paying attention. As soon as it hits the water, I'm just trying to watch how that line
Yeah.
reacts. Now, it's kind of a guess because I don't have my thumb on it and I don't feel it. So, like you're saying, you get that. I don't. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It's probably an educated guess based on the fact that I fish my same spots over and over again. But I could be wrong, and I could have been
Right.
wrong for years.
Right.
So, I'm still trying to learn the round reels. They still hate me. I got a few
hate me
different
from
ones
time
to
to
try
time, too.
now. So, it's okay though, because when round reels hate you, you can find homes for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find good homes for them so that way they can perform like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
So I found that as far as casting goes on a spinning reel, if I'm fishing with braid, it's a lot smoother. It's a lot more enjoyable on a spinning reel, which I'm finding out now that on a casting reel, it's less enjoyable for me. So because I've tried both, and number one, braid hates me on an open face reel. I've sat and I have a fancy line spooler too, and I cranked that thing as tight as I could go because you're supposed to put braid on really
Yeah.
tight, which I learned the hard way, so it doesn't bite into itself. Well, I find a way to make that happen, and so I got a video that's coming out. The second fish I caught in this video is probably about 30 pounds, and it went to go pull drag, and it couldn't because the line was bit into itself. So I
Yeah.
had to force that fish in for about 10 foot and then let it play with drag. So do either of you, and I say it's easier to cast with braid because usually in catfishing we're using heavier line, right?
Yeah.
We're using 25-pound usually or over. Bex, do you use braid on your spinning reels or no? Is it all mono?
So I might use braid on my spinning reels after just listening to you talk about it, because I hadn't really thought about that, and that might help with some of my casting things there. But no, I use mono on both spinning and on the bait casting rods. The only time I've used braid is for bass fishing. And the reason I liked it on my low profile bait casters there is I know that, like, as you said, all the digging and all the stuff like that, but I can get a bird's nest out of a low profile bait caster with braid much easier than I can with like fluorocarbon or mono, which I think
Really?
is different than the big
It's
circle.
backwards.
Yeah.
Well, it's backwards for everybody else usually. What about you, Mike?
I'd have to agree with Bex on almost all those points, and I do prefer mono because I have lots of rocky bottoms situations, so I want that
Yeah.
that extra help, in case I do get some nicks in the line, whereas
Yeah.
the braid would just break. But
Yeah.
I do still try it. I have braid on a couple of reels specifically to use with some bobber setups, some big bobbas. So
Bobbers.
that's been fun, and I also feel like it's a little bit easier when the braid's thicker.
Oh yeah.
I feel that thinner braid is what probably gave me more issues in the past when I had
Mhm.
tried it, and I wasn't really understanding the difference. I
I
thought that I
always go
could just do it.
80-pound braid.
Yeah, I thought I
Yeah.
could just do it just like mono. Well, you can't because it's different. So,
Mhm.
Yeah,
um,
my rule of thumb is at least double what you would do for mono, right? So if
nope,
I'm gonna
sounds
do
good.
30-pound mono, I should at least have 60-pound braid on there. And that has nothing to do with the strength of the line, but just the diameter.
Mhm. Well, and that's another thing. Like, well, number one, braid is really dangerous. Like, I have a slice in the side of my pinky every time I use braid, and the only reason
Mhm.
I even tried braid, I used to run braid on my spinning reels right when I started YouTube. It was 80 because Kayak Catfish used 85-pound braid. And I was like, well, he catches monsters. I need to use 85-pound braid. And it was tearing apart my spinning reels. Like, they just did not like it at all.
Yeah,
And I didn't know anything about putting backing on the reel first and all that. So it would spin and nothing would happen. There's a lot of lessons to be learned with braid that you can get away with mono.
yeah.
So that's why I always suggest when people starting out, if they ask the braid or mono question, I said go mono. I mean,
And I think like depending on what you're looking at, right? So in the bass world, I might do a 60-pound braided line and a 10 to 20-pound monofilament leader, right? Like the leader is lighter than the main line. Whereas in catfishing or bait fishing, it's the other way around, right? Like my main line might be anywhere from like 25 to 30-pound monofilament, but my leader line is 50 pounds up, right? Depending on what I have at the time. But it can go like 80, right?
and that's
Um,
why I switched to braid
mm,
because when I drag baits in the lake, I'm letting the line go out. We fish shallow in our lake, and when the boat comes over, especially on the sunny day, the fish sees that shadow and they scatter. Well,
right,
you want your lines to be out far enough that after the fish aren't scared anymore, they come back and then your bait's presented there. So I'm dragging 150, 200 yards of line. And so
right.
I was using 80-pound monofilament leader and 30-pound monofilament main line. And every time I go get snagged up and I have to pop it off, I'm popping off 50 to 100 yards of mono and it's staying in the lake. And I had a
Yeah,
problem with that, you
yeah,
know. And I'm like, I don't want to contribute to a bird hanging itself in the trees or just more trash in the lake in general. So I
yeah,
switched it up to 80-pound braid with a 60-pound monofilament leader. And now every time the something on the leader gives out, I'm not breaking that braid.
yeah,
So that's why I did it. But yeah, you're right. The theory is that because catfish are more abrasive, where they live is more abrasive, puts more pressure on the leader, so you have more chance of losing that fish.
right.
I challenge people to think about it like this, you know, use a thinner leader. It's easier to tie, it's easier to maintain. It's just it's easier on everything. If you break off, you're not going to lose 50 yards of line. And just check your leader lines in between fish. What do
Yeah.
y'all think about that?
I mean, I kind of I feel
It's
a lot
harder to
safer.
do.
Yeah, I feel a lot safer when I have a 50-pound leader on, right? Because if I forget to check it, it's exciting when you're catfishing.
Mhm.
You're chucking rods out all over the place. And I also have that thing like I hate breaking off. I hate like leaving stuff in the water, leaving stuff in the fish. I want to try and be as responsible as possible. Um, just the other day, I was fishing my first time fishing with ice present, and a huge ice sheet came back and came by and like literally took out 3 of my rods, and I had to like basically just like let them spool and cut with my knife because I couldn't get them back, and I hated that. I hated that like that much mono like went into the Potomac River.
Go online. I'm gonna help you fix that. Go on to tacklebandit.com
Okay.
and get a line breaker.
Okay.
It's a little plastic. Now it's like 20 something bucks. I don't know why it's so expensive, but it's a plastic line breaker with a rubber handle, and it's got like a gear looking thing on the top. You wrap your line around that handle, and then you put it in that spool, and then turn it horizontal and pull it. And that way you're not putting pressure on your rod or your reel. It'll
Yeah.
just break off the line.
Yeah, that would have helped.
I got one of those in Kansas City, and I never had one, and it's awesome because
Yeah,
no longer do I have to wrap my line around my reel, which is another great thing about spinning reels is, usually the drag's tougher. You can lock it down.
Yeah.
But
it's not
yeah,
great to wrap your line around your reels.
It's not. But people do it, and
I do it.
Either that or you can wrap it around the pins of the reel. But then you have to get that out of there.
Yeah. I mean, the situation on Saturday was more that like all 3 rods were going and my cart was going to go in.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was like the boat situation, right? Like when the boat hit my line.
Yeah.
When I saw that happen, I was like, no, Bex said Bonnie made that. I was like, give it back, iceberg.
You said that was live on Saturday?
Yeah, that was on the month-long Do You Has What It Takes.
Oh, yeah. I was out
there chaos competition.
I missed it. I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mess, but I'll have a video on it at some point soon. Because you gotta also show your failures. I truly believe this. Like, if you're gonna do YouTube and teach people how to fish or put yourself out there, like I gravitate to the channels that show me like all of it, the good, the bad, the funny, the silly, because otherwise it's just not real.
Yeah, I have a live stream like that where I hold up a fish and he flips up and jabs me in the hand, and I'm bleeding and crying on live stream.
I remember that.
It happens.
Yep.
And Mike's got the live streams where his beautiful babies are running around causing chaos.
Yep. Yep. And I got lots of other live streams where I'm fishing by myself and I don't catch anything.
Yeah.
We all have those.
We all have skunks for sure.
Yep.
So with the big C word out there, we've a lot of us have stopped traveling and all this, and now with the vaccines and things seemingly for most of us getting a little better, do you see yourself fishing in different areas in the not so distant future?
Yeah. So like one of my like long-term goals is to kind of get out there in nature a little bit more, right? Like I do a lot of like urban fishing, pond fishing, Potomac River fishing and stuff. I can get out in nature, but I want to travel and do like camping on my own and learn how to do more catch and cooks beyond just like the crappie, catch and cooks that I've done myself. So I've been working on my truck right now. I've got like a little like sleeping cot in there so that when it gets a little bit warmer, I can go out there and travel to different places. I'm kind of just going to do like a circle that expands, right? So I'm going to like look at, okay, like if this is an hour and a half out, then like 2 hours and just slowly spread out beyond the DC region, north, west, and south. Come visit you guys at some point. I think would be awesome. Go to CatCon. I'm going to be going to CatCon this year, which is like in what, like
a month,
4 weeks,
a month away. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I gotta finish the videos.
Oh,
if
super
you don't
psyched
get your
about
line breaker before then, we can just get it at CatCon.
Yeah, just wait and get it at CatCon.
I'm super. What is it called? The swap, the place where you can go and like
Fisherman Swap Shop.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
I have a lot of stuff for Mike to either sell or give away.
Yeah.
Got that thing?
I'm going to bring a lot of like I don't know. So there's 2 places I'm going to give away stuff Like Juan will be there at the Catfish Conference, and then in May we're doing a meet and greet for the DC area anglers, and we're already talking about like how can we get gear together, specifically for kids, but like also, you know, anybody who might need some stuff, because I think all of us in fishing may have an abundance of gear that we've collected over the, you know. Yeah.
This is the wrong crowd for that kind of conversation. We don't have a lot of gear.
Fake news. Urban
Fake
myth.
news. I would never have a rod rack of 18 and then run out of space and have 20 others laying up against the wall. I'd never do that.
Yeah, Bonnie would tell on me if I said anything about my rod or reel situation or lures or bait or weights, or because I have a lot.
Yeah, I'll find myself, and I know Mike definitely does this because we often chat about it. Bex has packages down here that she hasn't opened. But yeah, well, you know, you'll have that little lull in the workday, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I wonder if there's any deals going on.
Right.
And then, and if one of us doesn't find it, we'll be sure that Mike will send us a link, and it's just a random link, and he goes, these reels are marked down $15 a piece. You better get them while you can. That was the deal with those Cast King reels, right?
Yeah, $10. They
10
tried to
bucks a
mark them
piece.
down $10. Instead, they marked them down to $10.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I got 4. I think Elston
I have
got
one
what?
that Chunky got that he was like, here.
yeah. I think Elston got, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8, maybe.
Yeah.
Amateur.
I still have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've given
I
away
think I
3 of
still
them.
have. I think I still have 4.
Bex, you have one.
Maybe 6.
I actually have a few like casting
won one.
reels, but I own one of the ones that was that Amazon discount, and it's from because Chunky included it with the custom rod.
Oh, okay. I thought you won one
Nice.
for me too.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them. See? Too much.
I think I ordered 28 of them.
Let me ask you guys
28?
this question.
Jeez.
I'm flipping the tables. Have you bought anything fishing related? Thinking about casking, right? And our international fishing friends out there. Have you bought anything off of Alibaba for fishing?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Well, tell us what it is. The people want to know.
Okay, so Alibaba is basically there's 2 worlds. There's AliExpress and then there's Alibaba. And Alibaba, like when you search on Google a product and you see the same product all with different names, it's because people bought it on bulk on Alibaba and then are selling it as something different, right?
Makes sense.
But it also has AliExpress, which is direct to consumer. So you can buy directly from Casking on AliExpress, much like you can Amazon, but you can get stuff that they don't list in the US, right? So like I got a Casking rod that you can't find in the US, but I needed it.
Oh my God, Mike is going to be broke tomorrow morning.
Well, I was nervous about it, right? Because it was it's the only thing I've bought off of there, and I was like, is this going to write? It was like, not that I'm not promoting anything, but like this one experience, they kept me up to date on the delivery. It came all the way from China, and it made it in like perfect conditions. So I'm like, oh, now this is dangerous.
Now, was that before all the lockdowns and all the slowdowns with productions and everything?
It came like faster than they said it was going to come. So
I've ordered things from Cast King on eBay from their China eBay, and I've done it from their New Zealand eBay. And it all comes to my knowledge, it all comes from the same place. I've even ordered stuff from the US Cast King on eBay, and
It's all the same
it's like, oh, now it's coming international, airmail. It's like whatever, as long as you get it here whenever I say that you're going to get it here. And a lot of their deals were pretty cool though, because it was, definitely in my favor. And
Yeah.
that was
I mean,
back when I was checking out a lot of gear. I don't do that anymore.
yeah. I mean, I'm, as much as I can, I want to buy American for sure, right? Like that's my number one priority. But when it comes to stuff that I'm not going to have access to, and stuff that both budget wise, but also it's just not that popular here in the States yet. It allowed me to get something that I wasn't able to get before, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. My mom's from central Mexico, so I feel that my whole life that I've wanted to positively promote or support anything that's in America or Mexico.
Mm.
And I never go against one or the other, But that being said, too, my favorite fishing reels came from Japan.
Yeah.
So, you kind of make your own choices and decisions there. And that being said, too, I just can't stand politics. So I don't talk about it. I don't think about it. I don't deal with it. I don't hang around people that talk about it and deal with it all the time either. I just can't.
Isn't that why you love this community though? Like that's one thing I love about the fishing community, or I should say the catfish community that I've become a part of, is I feel like the only thing we care about is, do you want to fish and do you want to talk about fishing? And occasionally, if it's not that, it's food. And heck yeah, I'm in.
Thank you for the excellent segue into our next.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Doesn't have to be a snowman.
Do you want?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I'm stuck with two very, very good singers in the YouTube catfish community right now, and I sing, but I'm horrible.
Listen,
I can't do
it. Everybody missed out on the concert of the century because Bex couldn't make it down here for the camp out.
Yeah,
but it's gonna happen sooner or later, and it's gonna be an epic. It's gonna be an epic concert. We've been rehearsing on our own, not together, but we rehearse.
And I've been watching the TikToks, so I can stay hip with all the dance moves.
The tickety-tocketies.
The tickety-tock.
And hey, Palmetto Cats is on TikTok right now. We just passed 1,000 followers.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's been like 2 weeks. It's way easier on TikTok. I was asking the kids today. I said, "Hey, how do you get monetized on TikTok?" Like, you have to have 10,000 followers. Like, oh, okay. I'm nothing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but you're coming quickly.
Yeah, I think it's really a lot easier. And somebody once told me that to be successful on any social media platform, you have to get on all of them and direct them to, because you want traffic. You want traffic to go everywhere, whether it's your website, your YouTube channel, wherever you want that profit to show, you got to make traffic. So I started out on TikTok about a year ago, not a year, almost a year. And I posted a video, and there was a female in it that I had just met. It was actually Ray Ferguson's wife. And there were some really nasty comments. I was like, nope, that's it. I knew it was evil. I'm done. I deleted it. And then I see more and more like Mark from Catfishing Crappy, Mark from Fishing Magician, a lot of people getting in it. And I'm like, I wish I could do it. And then I talked to some, the kids at school. I like to talk to them. And I said, you got that tickety talk? Yeah. I said, yeah. And I told them about, the comments. They go, you can turn those off, right? I said, no, I didn't know that. So there you go. That I started one about 2 weeks ago, and I've turned off the comments. So right on. Go follow Palmetto Cats on TikTok.
We're on TikTok too. I mean, we haven't done a ton there yet. I really want to lean into the TikTok trends. Like because I want to expand the fishing community audience, right? Like want new people to see this stuff and be like, hey, that's fun. Maybe I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to mean dancing in front of rods, which I do already.
Yeah. I mean, you've already got it down. I think one of the main things is that you have to find those sound trends, like that people do all the weird stuff to, and you just have to relate it to fishing.
Yep.
I had one do pretty well. It's got like 4,000 views, which I figured out that's nothing too. So, but anyway, relating it to one of those sounds on TikTok. But sorry if we've lost anybody on TikTok. We'll stop now. But
I'll never be invited back again.
You lost
that being
me.
said, we just want to make sure everybody goes and visits No Real Loss on TikTok, on YouTube. Go check out Bex and Steven. They do fantastic live streams from the Potomac River, and they have some great videos too. So not all of it's live streams. Go check them out. Hit the subscribe button. I know you won't be disappointed. And if you're lucky enough to get in there on one of the lives that they do, you'll definitely have a good time. And they're very interactive in chat. So if you're feeling lonely and you want to come in one of these chats and talk, people are in there all night long and they'll talk to you. So go check them out. Obviously, we appreciate you coming on, Bex. And I want to give you an opportunity just to plug whatever you want to plug. Say whatever you want to say.
I mean, I will say that blah blah blah. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I love you guys. I'm so thankful.
When's the next live? When's the next live stream coming?
So we are live every Thursday.
Usually
somewhere between like 6:30 and 7 p.m. We'll sometimes do some lives that aren't on those days, whether it's weather issues or whatever it may be, but we always advertise and let folks know. One thing I will say is that I am really committed to making more videos this year. It's something that I'm pretty passionate about. I enjoy doing it. And I've made a commitment to myself to dedicate time to that. So whether it's creek fishing, bait fishing, cat fishing, overnight trips fishing, whatever it may be, I'm going to be getting out there more. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And you talked about your camping. Have you started a channel for that, or are you just going to do it on No Real Loss?
So right now most of it is going to relate into fishing. So I'll be doing fishing while I'm camping. That said, Vonnie and I have talked about like if that kind of becomes a bigger thing for us, including like the stuff that she builds and all that stuff, that maybe we'll start something that's a little more niche. Because obviously I'm not going to like go off on like this camping tangent on a fishing channel, right? So we'll see where it goes. And all my camping is going to be based on water.
Yeah, and you have a fishing partner to think about too. You know, you don't want to leave him out to dry. Mike, what you got for Bex to wrap it up?
Well, a video recently went out, and we were talking about those who inspire us and those that we really enjoy. So I gotta ask you, did you watch the video that was recently released by Fishing and Stuff?
I've not seen the most recent one.
Not seen the most recent one? Okay.
No, but we will. Vonnie and I watch him together.
Okay.
Because it's a good mashup of both of our loves.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. I very much enjoyed it. He's very inspirational to me because I'm telling you, I usually shy away from any do-it-yourself kind of stuff. And I was just cracking up. So
I'm gonna watch it after this.
Yeah. Text me your reaction to it then.
I will.
I enjoy it.
All right, everybody. Well, we thank you for listening. Again, if you want to support the No Real Loss, go check them out. And they're
got it.
You got me again, man.
You got two goofy co-hosts, but you got a podcast.
But the word real in there is getting me. The Real Deal Podcast. If you'd like to support us as well, go check out Shop Palmetto Cats at shoppalmettocats.com. Oh man, we need to get out of here, y'all.
I'm picking on you, Kevin, but trust me, I can't do what you can do. I do not want that seat.
I'm always incredibly impressed.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's take it to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another awesome broadcast. And Lord, we just lift you up and thank you for people like Bex and Vonnie, Lord, that are just fun and just bring joy to everybody in our community. Thank you for Mike, and thank you for Boom Squad and everybody listening. And I give you all the credit for all that. And I lift you up. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody. Well, we thank you for joining us again. Make sure you check us out next time on the Real Deal Fishing Podcast. We out.